So there's a switch here. I cannot help thinking at times about the ascent of humankind and the many strata of development that has brought us to this point. How the single thread of survival have caused us to move past each hurdle that we face. And amidst the many falls and bruises that we have acquired along the way, we got up. Out of this survival comes the great need to know. And the power to know is driven by the power of observation. And out of observing our existence, we have come to know a lot of things about ourselves, about the universe, and the things that are around us. Somewhere in our history, we came to know that there's a presence and a power that drives us. We have related it to the sun, to the moon, to animals. As we observed these beings, we felt, surely all the power is in the sun. All the power is at the top of a mountain. All the power is in other things made of stone, of glass, of wood. And somewhere along the road, we realize that that power is not only outside of us, it is within us. We have come to know what we call the truth of our being. That we are spiritual beings having all the elements of whatever is outside of us. If that which is outside of us is creative, then we can create. When we look at the things that human beings have quote-unquote created, the technologies, the instruments, the foods, the buildings, you have to ask yourself, it didn't begin today. When did it begin? I think it began with the first man. The seed of knowing was planted in man way back when. To understand, to use wisdom is part of all of that knowing. To see beyond appearances, all of that is part of that knowing. That still drives us today. And all the technologies that we have today comes from that same little spark of hope to do better because I think I can. we are not trapped into a cocoon made by our own hands or the hands of others. We are trapped when we cease to realize the gift to know is inherent in our being. To know that I can leave here, that it is possible to leave here and go to the moon, drives the engine of invention. Once I think through that inner knowing that I can, I will find a way. So poverty, sickness, unhappiness, lack of any kind is not our birthright. We are engines that are driven by spirit to go anywhere where no other human being has gone before. So if you are stuck, that's a deliberate action. And it takes another deliberate action to be unstuck. It does not matter how spiritually aligned we may be. The work always goes on. There's no rest in living. Living is movement. The more you move, inertia sets in, and you cannot stop. When you stop, inertia sets in, and you cannot move. Spirit is infinite. It is our mental state that drives spirit. It behoves us that the more we are open and receptive to spirit, the more supply of energy we get to move forward in a direction that brings about health, happiness, peace, joy, making fulfillment a possibility. But at times, all of us, we either get lazy or we stop and we break the pattern of daily worship and we are caught napping as the floods that we call problems rush in and cause us to be in a state of depression. Our great example is a teacher from Nazareth called Jesus. He proved that man, with a simple idea and the willingness to live, can overcome adversity. Because he did not focus on the outer, he developed the inner. He says to us, do not judge by appearances, judge righteously. To judge righteously is to always recognize the truth that is in the midst of you. We are spiritual beings, and everything that exists in spirit. We are beings of energy and intelligence, and everything that exists in our midst is also spirit, energy, intelligence. All motored by the same forces that power our existence. And therefore, we learn to recognize that truth and not judge things by appearances. Some of us do that, and we get caught up in an emotional train that leads nowhere. But as soon as you realize that single truth, whatever another person is doing, they are doing it from the same premise that you are doing it. Their way and your way. Because we all believe that what we are doing is the right thing to do, to lead us to the place that we would like to be at. It is important to note that we should always be in a learning mode, that we should always come to each moment having never been here before, and not casting our past concepts on the new. Behold the wonderful opportunity that is before us, that we could learn and grow and move and become something that we have never been. To settle for what you are denies the spirit in you to exercise the right to live. We should be always saying to the universe in every new situation, teach me, show me, because I don't know what to do. Some of us are so arrogant that we believe that wherever we are, we have the right answers and the right tools, and we are left behind as others grow forth. We come from the right family, the right class, the right this, the right that. And the person who had nothing gains everything. And we who think we may have had, we lose everything. Spirit, show me the way forward, that I may do the things that are possible for me to live the type of life that I know that I'm capable of living. To most of us who are always seeking to go forth, sometimes the road seems difficult. Yet when we learn to trust in spirit, my gauge is, when I look back along the road that I came from, amidst all the seeming trouble, trials, tribulations, and all sorts of negative things, when I look now, I say thank you. I thank you for the people that came into my life, for the occurrences that happened, for the things I have used, for all of them have contributed to helping me open my mind to a greater possibility. That wherever I am, I could live a little more. So I stopped blaming people. As I walk the road in life, I get to realize you agree with your enemy quickly and move on. No fight. Every time you fight, you stop and place your energy in a spot that you should not be at. When you praise each moment and praise each person, something happens. I am no longer judging by appearances. I'm judging that you have the right to be who you are, as I have the right to be who I am. When we trust in spirit, which is vital to our survival, it's like we go back to school to learn how to live again without blockages. Just trusting in the Almighty is opening up our minds to come to a place to realize that, wow, nothing has happened to me because the only time that I live is right now. So the past behind me, and I don't focus on the future. I focus on now. I don't need proof to know that that which I call God is always in the midst of me. No research can tell me that the Spirit that I call God, that great, enormous, universal, infinite, whatever it is I call God, is wherever I am. I just know that. I just know that my Redeemer lives, that every time I get into a hole, I can pull myself up. Something in me can help me do that. That gives me hope. I don't trust in the thing. I trust in the power that is in me, that is in the thing. For wherever I am, I know that God is. My favorite teacher again is Jesus. Jesus set out to live the life that would maximize all of his spiritual qualities. But he was also conscious of the fact that he had to keep teaching them and lifting them up. Because although all of us have these spiritual gifts, some of us don't even know we have them. Some of them believe that we have them, but we don't use them. So when we get into trouble, we still go to other people to look for help. And we still call for a God outside of us to come into me, God. Jesus realized that all these spiritual qualities were a part of his being. And that by lifting them up, he could live what he called the Christ life. Oneness with his Father. Oneness with the universe. Oneness was his single most focus. We call it love. Love the Lord thy God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your strength. Love your neighbor also in the same manner you love yourself. When you find out that yourself is connected to the big self, God, you have a right to love your neighbor in that same manner. It is true love, not this love that is emotional, this love that means no separation, unity, oneness, that we grow. When love is divisive and splits itself into fragments, we could only love one thing. But when we learn to bring the fragments together, it's like a mirror called love that has been dropped and broken into thousands of parts. And for the rest of our lives, we are trying to put it back together. The mere fact that we are trying to put it back together is the start to peace and joy. Put your mirror together. Keep working on your mirror. Don't expect anybody to come help you if you need to love. Jesus was such a great teacher that he used his life, his experience on the cross, his resurrection, and also after his resurrection to teach himself what he needed to lift up in order to continue to live this wonderful life that he saw was possible. In John chapter 20, beginning on verse 19, on the evening of the first day of the week, when the disciples were together, with the doors locked for fear of the Jewish leaders, Jesus came and stood in the midst of them. This first section, at the evening of the first day of the week, a period of rest, when all the spiritual faculties were now together because they weren't scattered, and the doors were locked, a metaphor for prayer. They did this to come together to create strength. Where there is strength, fear vanishes. Fear of old tradition, fear of old beliefs. It is in a state of prayer that we cement our beliefs in the power of love, togetherness. Sometimes we need to bring all the elements of our lives together. Our feelings, our thoughts, everything must come together so we could work in one accord. And it says that Jesus came and stood in the midst of us. Where two or three are gathered in my nature, there am I in the midst. When you bring all your stuff together as one, sits the creative presence to build on whatever you have. And he said unto them, peace be unto you. When all your faculties come together, all that there could be is peace, because all the wars in our lives are really internal, and we experience them outside. When you bring all of you together as one and operate from a state of love, you will be at peace. No more struggles, no more fighting. All we have is peace. And he showed them his hands and his side. And when the disciples saw them, they were overjoyed. They were full of hope to carry forth. Again, Jesus said, "Peace be unto you. As the Father has sent me, I send you." In other words, I have come at oneness with God, and I am sending you forth at oneness with God and oneness with me. Nothing could happen except it happens out of love. In you, the person, in an organization, in a nation, in the world. Nothing is more powerful than love. Love breeds peace in families. Wherever you are, a little ounce of love creates miles and miles of peace. And then he says, "Receive ye the Holy Spirit." This is very important because the Holy Spirit of God is called the Holy Spirit. It's all the activities of God, all the elements, the creative elements of God is ignited in you when you are in a state of love and there is peace in your soul. When you come together in yourself as one, you ignite this creativity in you that the world would burst forth and let you go by as you become a shining light, the salt of the earth. He says, if you forgive anyone's sins, their sins are forgiven. If you don't, they are not forgiven. To forgive means to cleanse. This anyone is about cleansing yourself. If you release anything that is unlike the nature of God, you will be in a state of love. And if you hold on to anything that is unlike the nature of love, you are condemned to punishment. Isn't that wonderful? The life and death are in your hands. Forgive and enter a state of love. Just reconnect with yourself. This love is not about anybody else. It's about yourself. Love you for who you are, what you can give, what you can do. Love from your head to your toes, from the bottom of your feet right up to your fingertips. Love every part. Don't condemn any part of you, for whatever you condemn about you will suffer in your mind. You're the greatest gift. See yourself as a gift given without blemishes, pure, holy. Every disciple represents a quality in us. On this visitation, there was two disciples were not there. Judas had gone out and hung himself. That means materialistic man was dead, and now all we have is spiritual man. In order to live a spiritual life, the old man must die, which we realize is Judas. The earthly man must die. The disciple that was not there was Thomas. Thomas represents what? understanding. So this is a lesson about understanding. Thomas came back to the room, and they said to Thomas, guess who was here? I don't know. And they said, Jesus was here. And he kind of chuckled. Jehu? Impossible. Unless I see his hands with the holes, put my hand in the side of his body where they had pierced with a spear. You're talking nonsense. In modern language, it's called crap. Some of us are like that. We still don't believe that with God or the Creator in us, all things are possible. That we can revive ourselves from whatever you are suffering from. From whatever poverty you are experiencing, you could enjoy riches. How sad you may be in this moment, you could be happy in the moment. That is an inner knowing. That you trust in the Spirit of God in you that makes all things possible. And Jesus had spent 3 years with them, teaching them that the things that I do, you too can do, and greater things you could do. And here is one of his top lieutenants doubting. Impossible. And guess what? Jesus shows up. And then the doors flung open, and Jesus appeared. At first, Thomas didn't know what it was, nor who it was. But then the hands were shown, and the side was exposed. And immediately Thomas said, "My Lord, my God." And Jesus said, "Blessed are those who do not see, but believe." Very important. This seeing is faith. Blessed are you who could exercise faith and look past the mountains of confusion and see a preferred future and believe that you could have it. You don't need the proof to get it. Once you have faith, the ways will open up for you. Most of us judge by the physical so much that we have lost our ability to create from a simple little spot of hope in the mind, to see through all the bricks and the stones and the walls of separation that separate us from happiness and health and peace. And we have to rely, unless I see it, I can't have it. No, I can have it if I could see it in my mind. I have it. That's why Jesus said, when you pray, believe that whatever you ask for or whatever you see in your mind, you have. Stop doubting your ability to move past the present moment or the past. All of us, we each has a past. All of us, we have a present. But the future is what we see. And it's that hope that one day, because I know that The resurrection power in me has the power over all seeming things. I can live again. This is what this story is all about. This story is about a man trying to produce an artificial light called a light bulb, and failed maybe 50 times, but kept going. This is a man who started to climb the Himalayas, came back down about 5,000 times, but at the end made it. This is a woman who thought she couldn't be healed for 12 years and one day said, I am healed, and went out and was healed. If you don't see it, you can't have it. But it's there in you to have. You got to believe in your creative ability. You got to create because you can create. Stop complaining. Get up off the seat and start to live. Don't let inertia drive you to your grave. It doesn't matter where you are. You are a creator. You were made to create. Take a look at your life. Everything that has brought you forth, you had to deal with. Big deal. Give yourself a handshake. You are a builder. You are a creator. With you all things are possible. Stop complaining. Stop chucking and jiving. Let's move. God bless.
I can see clearly now the rain is gone, and I can see all obstacles in my way. Yeah. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Bright, 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 sunshiny day.
I think I can make it now. Pain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. There is that rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Look all around, there's nothing but blue skies. Look straight ahead, there's nothing but blue I can see clearly now the rain is gone, and I can see all obstacles in my way. Oh yeah, here is that rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. You know it's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day.